Hi, Don.
Hi, Danielle.
I know where you are because I can see all your lights behind you and some
Yep,
green popping out.
yep. Got the plants growing.
I have something to show you.
Okay. Oh, nice.
hmm
Some starters.
I do. They're very leggy because I don't have lights. I just have the sun. So
Gotcha. I'm sure they'll do just fine.
they will. I got the soil that you told me about.
Nice. Very cool. I wish I had known. I could have given you a light.
Oh, are you kidding?
I have so many lights, as you can see. I could have easily given you a few.
We could have traded light. You can trade me your like actual lights and I'll trade you some yoga light.
All right. Sounds
I
good.
probably, yeah, I have some more seeds I can plant. That's good to know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So I want to introduce you because I want to share you with the world. Yeah. So I have the pleasure of knowing you for it must be a couple of years now. And the first time I met you was at a vegan food fair. And I noticed how passionate you were about something that, like, as a vegan, I don't know, I'm like over 25 years plant-based. So, I think a lot of this is just so intrinsically connected to who I am and what I do that I don't get too excited about it anymore. It's just my way of living. But then I saw you and you were like really, really excited about sprouts and microgreens, and like it was contagious. And so that's when I first actually saw you. And when I first met you, I think it was at the farmer's market in
Okay.
our town. And I've been eating sprouts for a long time, and I have to say that you grow the freshest sprouts, and they're so revitalizing and happy to have as a regular part of our diet and our meals. And you are also making it really easy for people because you just leave it on their doorstep. You're
Yep.
like the you're like the you're like the pan of sprouts, you're like the male sprout fairy. Can there be male fairies? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yep. So I want to say that I really appreciate you, and I love that we are doing business in the same town. And the longer that we are in connection, the more I realize we serve many of the same populations.
Yeah. That happened just yesterday. You said you met somebody who just happened to be one of my customers, right?
No, actually, you were coming by to pick up the infusions that I made you, and I was on a call with a very dear and old student of mine, and I looked outside and I said, "Oh, Don the Sprout Man is here." And she was like, "Oh my goodness, he was just here yesterday." So, and these kinds of conversations happen all the time. So I love that we both have our respective magic wands in people's lives doing the good that we do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, how did you make your way to yoga classes?
Well, even since college, people were telling me like, Don, like you should be doing yoga. Like, do you do yoga? I feel like you're the perfect person to do it. I feel like you would love it. And I was like, yeah, yeah, whatever. Um, and then I guess it was one of those things where you don't start doing it until, what's that saying? Like the
When
student,
the
yeah, what is it? You know it.
when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And I guess I don't know how I discovered you specifically. It might have been through Ray. Um,
I bet I know. I'm not the best self-promoter, so I'm sure that I was at the farmer's market with Ray, and she introduced me to you and said, Danielle is the best yoga teacher. You have to go to her classes.
Yeah.
I bet.
Okay. Yeah, and that's probably how it happened. And then I guess I just decided to go. There must have been some reason. I must have known a little bit more about you than just
Yeah.
simply like Danielle is a yoga instructor, because I wouldn't have gone if that was the case. But
Mm.
so I must have known a little bit about how deep your knowledge goes and how unique you are compared to other yoga instructors, where I was like, yeah, that's my teacher and I'm going to go. And it just happened every week. It's been amazing.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about the uniqueness, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I have a yoga therapy center. It's not a regular yoga school or yoga studio, rather, where people just sort of come and go as they wish or as the wind blows them. But people really come to me when they're ready to make changes in their life. And that's in their body, in their mind, in their behaviors. And my role as a yoga therapist, which is my primary work, is to meet one-on-one with my students and to develop, based solely on their personal needs and goals, everyday practices that they do at home, so that the yoga is tailored to who they are and begins to manifest what they want to create in their bodies, in their minds, and in their lives. Because we really do stay true to what yoga's tenets are, and they work. So I think that like the difference between what's happening in the general yoga scene today and what I'm doing is that I stay very, very close to the roots. I learned exclusively in India. I've been there 13 times. I spent a lot of time with one of I'm biased, but the best family to learn from with regards to keeping it real and keeping it ancient and individualizing practice. So the work that I do it's creative because everybody is different and there are so many different tools of yoga and dosages and combinations that we can use. But it stays true to the roots of yoga, and that is for personal development and transformation. So it's meant to sort of hit the spots where we are perhaps lacking or blocked, and sort of open them up and fill them with what it is for us to make our next best moves in our personal life. So you and I haven't done that work yet, but I find it interesting that just by coming to a class a week, you have experienced personal changes in your life from yoga.
Yeah. It's so amazing. I mean, that one little time slot during the week is like my time slot just to turn off and shut down and be present and experience what your sessions have to offer. And I go out of class in like this totally different vibe, and I feel like a state of bliss as I'm driving down Jericho back to my farm. And it's so cool.
Yeah. So that's how yoga works, actually, whether it's in a class setting. And right now, during the New York on pause phase, all of our classes are online, including the one that you normally come to. So you don't really have to leave your house to do yoga, which makes it very easy. It's kind of like getting your sprouts delivered. You're getting your yoga delivered right to your house.
Awesome.
But the way yoga works is we generate positive new experiences of peace, of being centered, of feeling hopeful, of feeling open, of feeling inspired, of having faith and trust in our bodies and in our minds. And the idea is that the more often we can generate those experiences for ourselves, the more readily it will translate into behaviors in your daily life.
Right.
And so I want to just pause for a moment and talk about something that I feel is really important and is also missing in today's yoga scenes.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that you as an entrepreneur are doing a fantastic service because you're helping people to detoxify by eating the foods, the right foods, the fresh foods, the organic foods on a regular basis.
Yep.
Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And I think that yoga as a whole, as a sort of system, is also aiming to detoxify. And if you look at the ancient texts, the first word of the chapter on practice is tapas. And this is a word which means you have to do the disciplines to help remove the toxins in your system. Right? So your customers are doing just that, right? They are changing their diet to help lighten the toxic load that they would otherwise be accumulating from dietary habits.
Yep. Not to mention getting the nutrition to allow for that detox as well.
I love that. Can you say more about that?
Well, for our body to function, it requires resources, just like anything in the world. So we typically use money to get things done. Our body uses nutrients and vitamins. And the problem is that the foods that we're eating are depleted in those very things that we need. So because of that, our body is in this constant state of just trying to catch up to the next thing that it has to detox. So because the foods that I grow are so nutrient dense, it's like a concentrated, packed, fresh version, not virgin,
fresh version.
Fresh version of the exact thing their bodies need. So when we get these nutrients into our body can then use these as a resource to function. And one of the primary functions of the body is to detox the waste.
I love that. Great explanation.
Besides the virgin thing, that didn't make any sense.
No, but it made me laugh. Thank you. I don't know if I've had a really good laugh today yet, so thank you. That's part of detoxifying, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that on my list. That would be, I'm getting somewhere here. Behavior. Yep, laughing. Well, so I think that what we face in this modern yoga climate is that people are obsessed with their physical toxins, much more than any other of the toxins that can accumulate. So yoga is a multi-dimensional practice. And the premise is that we have not just a physical dimension, which I think you're taking care of very well. And for the most part, this is what modern day yoga is obsessed with, the physical postures of yoga and perfecting them. And the problem is the toxins that we accumulate that are often most dangerous are not physical toxins. And if they are physical toxins, the initiation point for the behaviors that make us do things like eat a bag of potato chips or too many cookies, the initiation point for that is not physical.
Right.
It's emotional. So when we look at physical toxins, it's not just with regards to what we eat. A back pain can be a physical toxin. And excess of blood sugar can be a physical toxin. Migraine headaches can be a physical toxin. Chronic high levels of the Epstein-Barr virus antibodies, right? So viruses can be a physical toxin.
Yeah.
Cancer, a physical toxin. Postural defects, right? So if we're hunched over, can be a physical toxin, right? Now, yoga doesn't begin there. Yoga is really you could see it as a mind, it's mind-body medicine, but it looks to the mind as the source and the solution of our suffering. So let's talk also about mental toxins. If your yoga practice is not making any positive impact on your mental toxins, it's not working. And if your yoga practice is causing you physical harm, which I see many yoga practitioners getting hurt, it's also technically not yoga, because the premise of yoga is not harming, right? So mental toxins can range from pessimism, or like a gloom and doom type of mental attitude. It could also be catastrophizing. So, I'm seeing that a lot during this pandemic, that the yoga practitioners I know, we all know that we can get sick and die from this virus. But are we obsessing about that? No. We're generating more health, more positivity, or positive behavioral patterns, not necessarily positivity, but hope, right? Negative self-talk can be another mental toxin. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm fat. I'm weak. I'm not a good parent. This kind of negative self-talk is also a form of mental toxin. Expectations, another mental toxin. Excessive expectations. I was really thinking about this morning, and how there are some relationships in the history of my lifetime that I may have been a contributing factor of the demise of, because my expectations were higher than the person was able to reach, right? Or even in my day-to-day relationships, sort of. So for example, with my son, I may have expectations that he's going to behave like he's 12 years old, but he's only 7, right? And we keep that in check. So expectations can be a toxin. Judgment can be a toxin. So for example, right now, I know that there are protests going around in many of our states in our country, that people want to kind of get the economy going back, and they want to be able to go out and do all these things, probably too prematurely. So I could easily judge those people, or I can practice some form of compassion and try to see it from their angle rather than jump to judgment. So these would be some forms of mental toxins. And then we also have emotional toxins like anger, frustration, depression. We also have, depression is we would say an emotional toxin, even though it's considered a mental illness because of what happens here inside of us. Resentment, again. So if your yoga practice, which is supposed to be holistic, is missing this part of you and not doing something to generate the opposite on a regular basis, then it's not going to work.
Right.
It's not serving its function. And so from a detoxification perspective, we have to look at that. We also have behavioral toxins. So we can be fearful, right? A behavioral toxin, just a way of behaving, a regular way of behaving that is going to be detrimental. Fear is actually, yoga would say, in small doses, it's a good thing, because it helps to keep us alive. But if we let it get out of control, it's not. So we would want our yoga practice to help keep behavioral toxins like fear in check, like our self-esteem, right? Intrinsically, what we think about ourselves and how we behave from that place would also be considered a behavioral toxin, low self-esteem. frustration, something like narcissism. So this idea that I know it all and I know more than people and nobody else can possibly come close to my level of understanding and knowledge. Again, that would be some type of behavioral toxin. And then we also have an energetic system that yoga talks about. And I think it's, even though it is the essence of the practice, because it's connected to our breathing dimension, we can also accumulate toxins in this area. So digestion would be in the form of energetic, because there's an energy that pervades our digestive system that might be disrupted. So we can have digestive disorders, we can have reproductive dysfunction, anything from infertility to inability to orgasm, to, what do you call that thing that people have?
Vibrator?
A vibrator, no. What is it? Any kind of sexual dysfunction that people would have, that would be in the energetic category. So if it is getting in the way of your well-being, then it would be something that yoga can address.
Right.
Premature ejaculation, these kinds of problems. So, breathing would be in the prana dimension, or excessive fatigue would be in the energetic dimension. So we have to look at this when we're doing a holistic yoga practice. And as I'm sure it would be easy to deduce at this point, yoga really needs to be individualized in order to address these problems, because we have one person, or maybe we even have 10 people with like 5 of the same problems. They're different people. So a different tool is going to be, or many different tools layered. We do a layering process with all the tools would be necessary to help detoxify the system. So that is really what I wanted to talk about today, how detoxification process, I think in our times is very much looked at from a physical standpoint alone. And then all of these other ongoing problems that give us physical pain and dysfunction, the sort of initiation point for those problems, are totally ignored. And that's where yoga can come in, and why I love having someone like yourself, or someone like our friends Jimmy and Lexi, or my Ayurvedic colleague and my acupuncture colleagues, so that we can address the well-being of those in our community from a multifaceted perspective.
Right. I love it. I mean,
Good.
I've felt so much of this going to yoga. Like you said before, I'm an entrepreneur, so I do have all these expectations and judgments, and it's like, how much work is enough work? Because you're not just going to work from set hours. I work 7 days a week, and sometimes I don't know when I'm supposed to stop and just take some time to myself.
Right.
And even like, not necessarily on the day that we do yoga, but even aside from that, I noticed that yoga was specifically helping me to maintain a higher clarity around the truth, if you will, and how I was feeling and what I should be doing, to allow me not to judge myself, and to allow me not to, the biggest thing was just how I was just making myself crazy by just thinking so much, and like, I gotta go, next thing, and just never stopping. And yoga has been a big contributor to this. Now I can kind of just take a step back. I understand more about how time works. So I don't have to rush these things. I know what's coming. I know that my success is coming, but it's going to take time. And instead of making myself crazy and all uptight in these moments, I can be more strategic about what I'm doing with my time and allowing it to flow properly.
That sounds like an incredible asset to have, so that you yourself can maintain a more optimal state of well-being.
Yeah.
as a business owner, because it's true, you make your own schedule. Or, well, actually, the plants kind of have something to do with it once this thing gets going, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the world is essentially your oyster, and then you have to figure out, sorry, plant-based people, but you know, there, you choose your own adventure.
Right.
And I think a lot of times when our livelihood is in our hands, we can choose way too much adventure, more than we're able to hold and stay well.
Right.
So I think that sounds like a great asset. And I've heard that feedback often for people who are self-employed, that when they are well established in a daily yoga routine, they actually get more done because they have clarity and they have direction, and they can order what they need to do in a day in a much more efficient way. Energetically efficient for them, but also efficient so that they can still get everything done without having to feel the fatigue of overwork.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing because how could yoga be doing that? We're just stretching and breathing and stuff, right? That's all
Mm,
yoga is, right?
mm. Yeah, I know. And, you know, I think so a few different kinds of people come to me. I would say categories of people. One big category over the years is my well-respected yoga colleagues who've been in this profession for a long time, who feel like they're thirsty for more knowledge and they want their practice to be more holistic, and especially they want their teaching to be more holistic. So a lot of yoga teachers come to me to learn how to teach in a more holistic way. That's sort of one category. Another category is people who are intensely interested in learning yoga philosophy. Right? They want to know, well, what is behind this? And I have that knowledge. And then we have the next category of people who are like, I'm not feeling so hot in one way or another. And again, it could be migraine headaches, it could be anxiety or depression or pain or some kind of chronic illness, women's health issues. Those are usually what I get: chronic pain, women's health, and mental health. Right. And so those are the types of people who come to me. And I really love all these populations. And more than anything, I love that I have this gift that I've developed and honed over the years, and I'm able to support people and feeling better and sustaining that, you know, and having it not just be for a short period of time, but giving them tools that they can use for their whole life, and being able to sort of guide them to the next stages of practice. And not, that doesn't mean doing a headstand, right? That can mean doing some meditation that helps them gain the confidence to get their dream job, or, you know, find their mate, or to be a more, let's say, understanding parent. Right? It's going to change. We're all evolving, and the yoga practice has to evolve to support that.
Right.
Yeah. So I love talking to you. It's always a joy.
I love talking to you as well. It's one of my favorite things about yoga. We don't just come in and start moving. We come in and talk and build a relationship, and that's another that's a big deal to me too. Just to have that relationship and have it be a little bit deeper than just walking into a yoga class and doing it for an hour.
Yeah, I hear you. And I know that's important to you as an entrepreneur too, because I hear you a lot of times. If I've stopped by your place, you're on a call with someone, and you know, you're very generous with your time and your energy and your facts and your figures and your information. So I think we have a lot in common, and I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you too.
Thank you. So it's a wonderful way to spend part of a increasingly sunnier afternoon. I think we brought the sun out.
Good. That's that's how we roll.
Yeah. So I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I miss my sprouts.
All right, I'll make sure to get a box to you this week.
Yeah, I'll trade you a loaf of bread.
Yay. All right.
Okay. Peace.
Later.
Bye.